Canada jokes, Canadian jokes. Short Canada jokes. Q. Did you hear about the war between Newfoundland and Nova Scotia? A. The Newfies were lobbing hand grenades, the Nova Scotians were pulling the pins and throwing them back. Q. What do you call a sophisticated American? A. Canadian. Q. What's the difference between an American and a Canadian? A. An Canadian not only has a sense of humor but can also spell it. Q. What do urine samples and Canadian beer have in common? A. The taste. Q. Who would win in a fight between Celine Dion and Shania Twain? A. We all would. Q. What are the two seasons in Canada? A. Winter and July. Q. Why aren't there any Mexicans in Canada? A. They can't run that far. Q. How do Canadian environmental groups plan on using Hillary Clinton to stop the spread of Asian carp into the Great Lakes? A. By having her go skinny dipping in Lake Michigan. Q. Why is the late Corey Haim going to be buried in his native Canada? A. The USA and Canada held a coin toss and Canada lost. Q. Why did Leandro Barbosa choose to play for the Toronto Raptors? A. Because they have much better pot in Canada. Q. Why does Celine Dion want to purchase the Montreal Canadiens? A. Because she wants to ruin more than just music. Q. Why is President Obama contacting the Prime Minister of Canada about the failed economy? A. To find out how Canadians live off of less. Q. What was the original title for Canadian Idol? A. The world's biggest hoser. Q. Why did Bill Clinton choose Canada as the site for his summit with Yeltsin? A. So he could look up some college buddies who moved up there during the war. Q. What is the difference between a Canadian and a canoe? A. Canoe tips. Q. What's the difference between a Canadian and a unicorn? A. Nothing, they're both fictional characters. Q. How was copper wire invented? A. Two Canadians were fighting over a penny. Q. Why don't Canadian women wear sleeveless dresses? A. They aren't allowed to bear arms. Q. What does Premier Wynne and Mayor Rob Ford have in common? A. They both have more than enough to eat at home. Q. How do you know Adam was a Canadian? A. Who else could stand beside a naked woman and be tempted by a fruit? Q. Why are the obese angry at the Supreme Court of Canada for giving them extra seats when they fly Air Canada or WestJet? A. Because they wanted extra meals. Q. Why is George W. Bush considering moving to Canada? A. Because his penis size will increase from 6 inches to 15.24 centimeters. A Canadian doctor gives you an annual checkup. What does he do? First, he body checks you. S1, Rush Limbaugh said he'll move to Canada if the healthcare overhaul passes Congress. S2, upon hearing Rush's intentions, Canada immediately countered by banning OxyContin. Job application. A man from Newfoundland went into the fish market to apply for a job. The boss thought to himself, I'm not hiring that lazy Newf, so he decided to set a test for the Newfie, hoping he wouldn't be able to answer the questions and he'd be able to refuse him the job without getting into an argument. The first question was, without using numbers, represent the number 9. Newfie says, that's easy, and proceeds to draw 3 trees. The boss says, what in the world is that? Newfie says, tree and tree makes 9. Fair enough, says the boss. Second question, same rules, but represent 99. Newfie stares into space for a while, then makes a smudge on each tree. Dare ya go by, he says. The boss scratches his head and asks, how on earth do you get that to represent 99? Newfie answers, each tree is dirty now, so it's dirty tree and dirty tree, dat 99. The boss is getting worried he's going to have to hire the Newf, so he says, all right, Question number 3. Same rules again, but this time. Represent the number 100. Newfie stares into space again, then he shouts, I got it. He makes a little mark at the base of each tree and says, There ya go sir -100. The boss looks at Newfie's attempt and thinks, ha! Got him this time. He then tells Newfie, Go on, Newfie, you must be crazy if you think that represents a 100. Newfie leans forward and points to the little marks at the tree bases. And says, a little dog comes along and craps near the base of each tree, so now ya got dirty tree and a turd, dirty tree and a turd, and dirty tree and a turd, which makes 100. When do I start me job? RCMP. A Canadian calls the RCMP. Hello, is the RCMP? I'm calling about my neighbor Antoine Smith. He is hiding marijuana in his firewood. The next day the RCMP descends on Antoine's house and search the shed where the firewood is kept. They bust open every piece of firewood, but find no marijuana. They apologize to Antoine and leave. The phone rings at Antoine's. Hey Antoine, did the RCMP come to your house? Yep. Did they chop all your firewood? Yep. Happy birthday buddy. Free sex. A gas station in Halifax was trying to increase its sales. So the owner put up a sign saying free sex with fill up. Soon a Canadian pulls in, fills his tank, and then asks for his free sex. The gas attendant tells him pick to a number from 1 to 10. If he guesses correctly, he will get his free sex. The Canadian says, 7. The gas attendant says, you were close, sir, but the number was 6. Sorry, no sex this time. A week later, the same Canadian, along with his buddy, pulls in for a fill up. Again he asks for his free sex and again the gas attendant gives him the same story and asks him to guess the correct number. The Canadian says, 5. The gas attendant says, sorry, it was 4. You were so close, but no free sex this time. As they were driving away, the Canadian says to his buddy, I think that game is rigged and he doesn't really give away free sex. The buddy replies, no, it ain't rigged. My wife won twice last week. You might be Canadian if your municipality buys a Zamboni before a bus. You understand the Labatt Blue commercials. You bring a portable TV on a camping trip so that you don't miss hockey night. You can repeat the entire Molson's Canadian The Rant. You know all the words to If I Had $1 Million by the Bare Naked Ladies, including the interstanza banter between Stephen and Edition. You dismiss all beers under 6% as for children and the elderly. You remember when Alanis Morissette was too hot to hold. You watch much music constantly, in the hopes of occasional fleeting glimpses of the tragically hip. You can sing O Canada in French and actually know what the words mean. You think Peter Mansbridge is sexy. You killed your best friend for another roadside attraction tickets. You think Great Big Sea isn't Atlantic-centric enough. You know the names of all the guys in Sloan. You know more than 3 guys named Gordon. You are excited whenever an American television show mentions Canada. You love your fries with Powton. You actually watch the Gemini Awards, the Genie Awards, and the Juno Awards. You have twins named Wayne and Gretzky, alternately Gordie and Howe. You substitute beer for water when cooking. You know what Canuba is. You think it's pretty damn funny. You know Casey and Finnegan are not a Celtic rock band or imported beer. You know who Foster Hewitt is. You pity people who haven't tasted a beaver tail. You know that the Canadian Alliance is just the Reform Party with better hair. You have Canadian Tire money in your kitchen drawers. You cried when you heard that Mr. Dress-Up died recently. You brag to Americans, Shania Twain, Jim Carrey, Celine Dion and more, are Canadians. You know that the last letter of the English alphabet is always pronounced Z. You know how to pronounce and spell Saskatchewan. You have worn shorts and a parka at the same time. You perk up when you hear the theme song from Hockey Night in Canada. You are in grade 12, not the 12th grade. You know that Canadian Tire on any Saturday is busier than the toy stores before Christmas. You owe more money on your snowmobile than on your car. At least twice a year, the kitchen doubles a meat processing plant. You think the start of deer season is a national holiday. You know which leaves make for good toilet paper. The trunk of your car doubles as a freezer. You can play road hockey on skates. Bragging. A Canadian guy, an American guy, a Japanese guy, and a Middle Eastern guy walk into a bar. They all have a couple of beers, and get to bragging. The American guy boasts, "I'm so lucky, I have 4 beautiful children, 1 more and I would have a basketball team." Not to be outdone, the Canadian guy retorts, "I am luckier than you, I have 5 gifted children, 1 more and I could form a hockey team." So, the Japanese guy chimes in with, "Well, I surely have both of you topped. I have 8 children. Just 1 more and I would have a baseball team." Pausing, briefly, the Middle Eastern guy replies, "Well, I am betting I have all you fools beat. My harem houses 17 wives, 1 more and I would have a golf course."